totally destroyed the car. The front's crushed, the back's crushed, but the interior wasn't damaged at all. Mazda just pulled off something the automotive world thought was essentially dead and buried. In February 2024, they didn't just announce a nostalgic side project or a half-hearted tribute to their engineering past. They stood up a full department with 36 dedicated engineers and gave it one job: bring the Rotary engine back to life. Rotary engine is so different and so unique that Mazda place itself in the world map. And really, the Rotary engine is what started this iconic love for driving. Not as a concept that'll gather dust in a museum, but as real hardware with actual production intent. And the craziest part, they might actually pull it off. So why does that matter? And what exactly are they building? The return no one saw coming. On February 1, 2024, Mazda made it official. They reinstated what they're calling the RE Development Group. And this wasn't some vague corporate announcement buried in a quarterly earnings call. This was a dedicated team with departmental status, resources, and a clear mandate. Develop modern rotary engines that can survive in today's automotive landscape. 36 engineers isn't a massive army, but it's enough to signal serious intent. For context, most automakers wouldn't bother staffing up an entire department for a niche engine type unless they had concrete plans beyond just concept cars and PR stunts. Mazda essentially told the world they're betting real money and real talent on an engine design that nearly every other manufacturer has written off as a technological dead end. The RE Development Group isn't working in secret either. Mazda has been surprisingly transparent about their goals. Build rotary engines that meet modern emission standards, integrate them into hybrid powertrains, and yes, make them compatible with carbon-neutral fuels. That last part is crucial because it positions rotary not as a relic, but as something that could theoretically fit into a low-carbon future. Whether that's realistic or just optimistic marketing remains to be seen. But the commitment is undeniable. Why rotary engines disappeared in the first place? To understand why this comeback is so shocking, you need to know why rotary engines vanished to begin with. The WLE rotary engine, named after its inventor, Felix Wankel, was supposed to be the future back in the 1960s and 70s. It was compact, lightweight, had fewer moving parts than a piston engine and could rev to the moon. Mazda fell in love with it and became the only major automaker to mass-produce rotary-powered cars. But the rotary had problems, big ones. Fuel economy was abysmal compared to conventional engines. The design inherently burned more fuel because of its combustion chamber shape and the way the air-fuel mixture moved through the engine. Then came the oil crisis of the 1970s and suddenly thirsty engines became a liability. Emissions were even worse. Rotary struggled to burn fuel cleanly, spewing out hydrocarbons and other pollutants that made regulators cringe. As environmental laws tightened globally, the rotary became harder and harder to justify. Mazda kept trying, refining the design through the RX-7 and eventually the RH-8. But by 2012, even they threw in the towel. The RX-8 was discontinued and the rotary engine was shelved. The world moved on to turbocharged 4-cylinders, efficient diesels, and eventually hybrids and EVs. For over a decade, the rotary was essentially dead. So, when Mazda announced they were bringing it back, the reaction wasn't just surprise, it was disbelief. The MX-30 range extender, Rotary's quiet comeback. Here's the thing most people missed. Mazda actually already brought the rotary back. In 2023, they launched the MX-30 ES Sky Active RV, a plug-in hybrid SUV that uses a tiny 830 cubic centimeter single-rotor engine. But here's the twist. The rotary doesn't drive the wheels. It's a range extender. It sits there quietly, spinning away to generate electricity that charges the battery, which then powers the electric motor that actually moves the car. This is a fundamentally different role than what Rotis did in the RX-7 or RX-8. Instead of screaming at 9,000 revolutions per minute and guzzling gas, this little rotary runs at a steady, efficient speed, acting more like a portable generator. And it turns out rotaries are actually pretty good at that job. They're compact, smooth, and when you're not asking them to deliver wild horsepower, they can be reasonably efficient. The MX-30 range extender wasn't a blockbuster sales hit, but it proved something important. Mazda could build a modern rotary that met emission standards and served a real purpose. It was a proof of concept, a way to test the waters and keep the engineering knowledge alive. And it laid the groundwork for what came next. The iconic SP concept, a rotary sports car, returns. In 2023, Mazda unveiled the iconic SP concept at the Japan Mobility Show. And this is where things got really interesting. This wasn't a sensible hybrid SUV. This was a two-seat sports car with aggressive styling, a low-slung stance, and a powertrain that made enthusiasts sit up and pay attention. A dual-rotor rotary engine paired with an electric motor in a hybrid setup. Mazda claimed the iconic SP could deliver around 370 horsepower while maintaining relatively low emissions and the ability to run on carbon-neutral fuels. The design itself was striking. Sharp lines and a purposeful stance that screamed driver's car. But concepts are cheap. Automakers roll out flashy concepts all the time that never see production. What made the iconic SP different was the language Mazda used. They didn't say this represents our vision for the future or this explores what's possible. They said they were considering production. That's a very different message. And according to recent reports, they're not kidding. Sources close to the development team say the next-generation rotary powertrain for a car like the iconic SP is almost technically complete. That means the engineering work is largely done. What's left is the business case, the manufacturing plan, and the final decision on whether to actually build it. Engineering the new generation. What's actually different? So, what exactly is Mazda doing differently this time? How do you take an engine design that failed on emissions and efficiency and make it work in 25? First, they're not using the rotary as a primary power source in the traditional sense. The hybrid setup means the rotary can run at its optimal efficiency range, generating electricity rather than directly driving the wheels through a gearbox. That alone solves a lot of the old fuel consumption problems. When a rotary engine is allowed to spin at a constant efficient speed rather than constantly accelerating and decelerating with the car, it becomes much more manageable. Second, they're engineering for carbon-neutral fuels. This is critical. Even if the rotary burns fuel, if that fuel is synthesized from atmospheric carbon or derived from renewable sources like microalgae, the net emissions picture changes dramatically. Mazda is betting that carbon-neutral fuels will become more available and that regulators will account for life cycle emissions, not just tailpipe emissions. That's a gamble, but it's not insane. Third, emissions control technology has come a long way since 2012. Modern catalytic converters, particulate filters, and combustion management systems are far more sophisticated. Mazda claims they can meet Euro 7 and upcoming US emission standards with the new rotary designs, which would have been nearly impossible a decade ago. The dual rotor setup in the iconic SP concept is also interesting. Two rotors provide more displacement and power while maintaining the compact size and smooth operation rotaries are known for. Paired with an electric motor, the system can deliver instant torque from the electric side and high revving power from the rotary side. It's a combination that on paper at least plays to the strengths of both technologies. The development team has also been working on improving the apex seal design, one of the rotary's historical weak points. Apex seals are the components that maintain compression in the rotary's combustion chambers, and they've always been prone to wear. Better materials and coatings could extend engine life significantly, addressing one of the old reliability criticisms. The Vision X Coupe and carbon-neutral ambitions. In 2025, Mazda showed another concept called the Vision X Coupe, and this one pushed the carbon-neutral angle even harder. The concept reportedly features a rotary hybrid powertrain designed to run on fuels derived from microalgae, a renewable source that captures carbon dioxide as it grows. The messaging here is clear. Mazda wants to position the rotary not as a dirty gas-guzzling relic, but as part of a sustainable future. It's a bold rebranding. Whether you buy into it or not probably depends on how you feel about synthetic fuels and alternative pathways to decarbonization. The mainstream automotive industry is betting heavily on battery electric vehicles, and there's no question that's the dominant trajectory. But Mazda is arguing there's room for multiple solutions, especially in niche applications where driving, emotion, and character matter. The Vision X Coupe also signals that Mazda isn't planning to make just one rotary vehicle. If they're developing multiple concepts with rotary powertrains, they're clearly exploring how far they can take this. That could mean a sports car, yes, but maybe also other performance-oriented models down the line. The business reality. Why? This is still risky. Let's be honest, this is a massive gamble. Developing a new engine from scratch is expensive. Developing one that only works in a niche product is even more expensive. Mazda isn't Toyota or Volkswagen. They don't have infinite resources. Every dollar spent on rotary development is a dollar not spent on electric vehicle platforms, new conventional engines, or expanding their hybrid lineup. And those are the products that will actually pay the bills. There's also the market question: who exactly is going to buy a rotary-powered sports car in 2026 or 2027? Enthusiasts will line up, sure, but enthusiasts are a small group. The broader market has moved toward SUVs, crossovers, and increasingly EVs. A two-seat sports car, no matter how cool, is a tough sell in that environment. Mazda's executives have acknowledged this. In interviews, they've admitted that justifying the investment is difficult. The business case isn't obvious, but they've also said that some things are worth doing, even if they don't make immediate financial sense. What this means for the industry: Mazda's rotary revival is more than just one company's pet project. It's a signal that old technologies can be reimagined, that there's more than one path forward, and that emotional connection still matters in the automotive world. Most automakers have accepted the inevitability of electrification and are racing to build EVs. Mazda is saying, yes, we'll do that too, but we're also going to explore other options. We're going to try to keep internal combustion alive in a form that can coexist with stricter environmental standards. Whether they succeed or fail, it's a fascinating experiment and other manufacturers are watching. If Mazda can make a business case for a niche, emotionally engaging product in the age of electrification, others might follow. We've already seen brands like Porsche investing in synthetic fuels for similar reasons. There's a recognition that not everyone wants to drive a silent, efficient appliance. Some people want engagement, character, and a connection to the machine. The next few years will tell us whether this gamble pays off or whether the rotary stays in the concept car graveyard. Either way, the fact that Mazda is even trying is worth paying attention to. They're betting that passion, heritage, and clever engineering can carve out a space in a rapidly changing industry. And that's a bet worth watching.